All right, let's do 2 more examples and then we're actually going to be done with this section. This question asks us to find the absolute max and mins of 4x plus 16 over x for the interval from 0 to infinity. I probably sound like a broken record by now, but hopefully you know that the first step is to find the first derivative. So when I do that, the first derivative of 4x is 4, and the derivative of 16 over x is negative 16 over x squared. And hopefully with enough practice, you can just do these as quickly as I can. Okay, I'm really hoping we get to that place. Anyway, let's set this equal to 0. And the first step in solving 0 equals 4 minus 16 over x squared is to just multiply the entire function by x squared. So we get 0 equals 4x squared minus 16. Add the 16 over and divide by 4 will give us 4 equals x squared. Skipped a couple steps, but if you need to, just pause and catch up. That means that x, when we take the square roots, is positive or negative 2. All right, well, here's the thing. Positive or negative 2. Negative 2 we don't need to worry about because negative 2 is not in our interval. So the only thing we need to worry about is what happens at 2. And then we need to worry about what happens as the function approaches 0 and what happens as the function approaches infinity. And I say approaches because the function is not defined at 0. So we need to ask what is the end behavior of the function as we go to 0. What is it as we go to infinity? All right. Well, first off, let's plug in 2 and see what we get. When I plug in 2, I get 8 here plus 8. So 2 goes to 16 in my function. Now, what happens as we go? So that's either a maximum or a minimum. Let's see what happens at infinity and 0. We'll start with 0. As we approach 0 from the positive side or from the right-hand side, this piece goes to 0 because x is going to 0, and this piece goes to 16 over 0. So this x gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so it's 16 divided by a smaller and smaller number. So that means that the function is going to head towards positive infinity. If you don't believe me, just look at a graph of the function. But as we go to 0 on the x, it should go up to positive infinity as we go along that branch. Excuse me. What do we head towards as we head towards infinity? Well, this number gets bigger and bigger and bigger, so this fraction goes to 0. This x goes and goes and goes, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, so that just also explodes to positive infinity. So this 16 is actually going to be the minimum of our entire interval. So 2 comma 16 is actually the point 216 is actually our absolute minimum on the interval. And because both of these go off to infinity, then that means there is no absolute maximum. There's no finite absolute maximum anyway. So the function will do something like this, and don't quote me on this, but it'll look something like this, where here's our interval from 0 to infinity, and this point right here, 216, is actually the absolute minimum over that interval. And there's no absolute maximum. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and then we'll do the last example.